Good morning, everyone. My name is Gabby Carrion, and on behalf of Caresoft Technology Corporation, I would like to welcome you all to our webinar today. To tell you a little bit about Caresoft, we are a trusted government IT solutions provider delivering software and support solutions to federal, state, local, and education customers. Caresoft maintains dedicated teams to support sales and marketing for all of its vendors. And with that, I will hand it over to James.
Thanks, Gabby. So welcome to our latest edition of the Talk Data to Me webinar. Just wanted to go over a quick agenda to kind of talk about the topic of what is possible with the right data foundation. So going to start off just introducing the panelists, getting into a discussion about data maturity, how Hitachi can help, and then any questions from the audience. So if you've seen one of these webinars, you've seen myself before. My name is James Langley. I'm a master solutions consultant with Hitachi Vantara. Been in IT for a little over 25 years with Hitachi, Brocade, EMC partners, and originally started as a contractor at the U.S. Department of State. My contact information is on the slide here. And Gary, do you want to introduce yourself, or I can talk you up well?
Sure, I can introduce myself. I don't get to do it that often, actually. Gary Hicks, I'm Chief Technology Officer for Hitachi Vantara Federal, and I've been in over 30 years in IT, and I started my career actually hanging tapes and mainframes, and it turned into, it's funny, I got into Unix admin, and like most of us, we kind of inherited other jobs as we went along, and that was how I kind of got into data storage. We had a guy quit who was the only one that had access to the room where we had the half-height EMC symmetric, so I became the storage admin then. So, and my contact info is there down at the bottom, so thank you.
Yeah, so before we get started, let's kind of start off with an audience poll. Gabby's going to put the poll up where you can answer. But what do you think is the most critical component of a robust data foundation? So we'll give folks a chance to answer. So this is good. So we had, yep, still coming in. Excellent. Almost everyone on the webinar has answered at this point. So about 44% came up with having a secure and scalable infrastructure. And that's certainly something we're going to discuss today. Secondly, folks were interested in being able to do advanced analytics and insights. And then data governance and quality came in third. I think all of these are critical components of a robust data foundation. The idea was just to give you guys some chance to kind of speak your mind in terms of what is the most important for you. So with that, I do want to start the conversation by just talking about data maturity and beginning by looking at how mature is your data itself. So this year, Hitachi actually partnered with Meritalk, and we put out a survey called the Federal Data Maturity Report. We reached out to 150 IT leaders throughout the federal government to ask them questions about data maturity. But before I get into the results of that, let's take a step back and talk about what data maturity actually is. So data maturity means really how well an organization manages and uses its data. It's going to involve different stages of the data pipeline that shows how good an organization is at collecting, storing, and analyzing its data to do data-driven decisions, right? So there are some key aspects around that, whether it's data governance, which is really ensuring the accuracy, consistency, and the security of your data. Data quality is obviously very important, being able to integrate that data into different technologies and pipelines, being able to gain an analysis from that, make it accessible, and of course, security and privacy, while also generating kind of a data-driven culture, are all key aspects, right? So if we look at, 20 years ago, we had the conversations around big data, right? And big data always spoke about the 5 V's, right? Veracity, velocity, variety, volume, and variety, right? So some of the aspects of data maturity are really how well is an organization able to handle those 5 V's. And regardless of where someone's path is in the overall data maturity discussion, federal agencies are working to become more data driven, right? So out of our survey, 99% of federal IT decision makers stated that their agencies are putting a greater emphasis on leveraging data to drive decision making and achieve their mission goals. So how does that relate in the federal government, right? So again, our 2024 Federal Data Maturity Report highlights the state of data management within federal agencies. And there's some interesting takeaways that came from it. 57% of federal IT leaders feel that their current infrastructure is being overwhelmed by increasing data volumes. More than half say their organization's current data infrastructure is not agile enough to adapt to evolving technologies. And 62% are concerned that their infrastructure won't be able to scale to meet those data needs. Now, there is a bit of a distinction between obviously different aspects of the federal government. So if you look at the Department of Defense, over 60% of the government's budget, DoD organizations are significantly more likely to report that their challenges are around infrastructure reliability. 84% of the time DoD responded. Whereas civilian agencies are more likely to struggle with outdated technology, right? So, some of those kind of go hand in hand with outdated technology leading to challenges of data reliability. But of course, whether it's the DoD or the Intel space, we often talk about contested data supply chains. We're dealing with solutions that are out inside of a theater, perhaps with contested adversaries. And that's where infrastructure reliability becomes key, and where having the most advanced solutions become critical as well. So in understanding even where the respondents came in, right? So if you look at this, they're not the worst gradings overall, but only 32% of individuals who responded could really say that their organization used data-driven insights for strategic decision-making and would give themselves an A rating, right? Some of their current levels of data maturity, only 41% of respondents would even identify their data maturity as being advanced. And when you look at that growth in data volume, we've got a lot of different topics kind of outlined there. But if you look at it, structured data, which is the traditional data we've seen in the data center, is number 6. It's in last place. Really, unstructured and semi-structured, which everything up the stack comprises, is where the massive amount of data growth comes into play. And that's why it's important to have a solid data foundation that can span both block-based solutions, file-based solutions, object-based solutions, and kind of decouple data infrastructure from the individual data types. Now, how are people focused on overcoming some of their data infrastructure challenges, right? The state of overall federal data maturity, it highlights that agencies are overall prioritizing data-driven decision-making. Their current data infrastructures are struggling to keep up with demand, and adjusting to the data surge is becoming the new norm, right? When we look at things like complexity challenges in data, security vulnerabilities, and outdated technologies, these are some of the top 3 concerns. And when we look at the bottlenecks, things like data processing and transformation, being able to do solid analysis and insight generation, but even some of the simple solutions like data storage and retrieval are some of the top challenges that they're seeing in leading to a more mature data infrastructure. With that, I do kind of want to get into our next audience poll, and that's trying to understand for you all in the audience, what is the most significant challenge your agency faces in advancing data maturity? And we have some sample solutions up there. So let's see. Yeah, so overall, the audience, you guys identified data security concerns being a significant challenge for advancing your maturity. And that's something that we're very familiar with at Hitachi. The government has created a number of significant initiatives, whether it's the zero trust architecture, the NIST 2.0 standards, right, to highlight that this data that's going to inform our decisions, the same data that's assisting the generation of AI and ML algorithms and technology, we need to ensure that itself is secure and that it can overcome the infrastructure limitations that exist today. So with that, I do kind of want to kick it over to our Chief Technology Officer, Gary, and really ask a question. Where does Hitachi come into play, and how can Hitachi help?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you did a great job of setting the stage of kind of how we've changed our view. Because if you look at on the next slide, people have known us for our trusted data infrastructure for years. It's very reliable. I'm always kind of fond of saying, wherever we win and people start to use us, they get very comfortable with the reliability, the performance, and the availability of those platforms that we sell. So that's something that we've been known for years. But what we're trying to drive into this as we kind of move towards the future is intelligent simplicity, making it easier to manage your data infrastructure and your data governance. We want to make sure that you're able to understand what's in your environment, how to manage that data, administer that data and governance. And looking at things like hybrid cloud, which you see here on this slide, our customers have a varied array of solutions in their environments, appliances. These are purpose-built, kind of what you have historically had. When I go to the data center, there's a storage array there, and that's an appliance that stores my data. We have a lot of customers that are looking at software defined, and this is software defined on premise, but also in the cloud. In that space, and also integrated solutions where we've packaged multiple products together to be a single holistic solution. And you're seeing this in the AI infrastructure space. These are elements that we're bringing to bear. So where are we going with this architecture? And if you click on the next slide, we're looking for one strategy, and we call it the VSP One for our customers. And it's a single data platform from the perspective of a user and consumer, and a single data management interface for your entire environment. You don't have to worry about, well, is this file data? Is this unstructured? Is it semi-structured? Is it structured? We're going to fix that for our customers as we go forward. So you're not going to have to learn multiple things. And if you look at that, today we have varying solutions. And prior to VSP One, we had our VSP, our virtual storage platform, our block device. Our file was HNAS, Hitachi NAS. We had our object platform, HCP, Hitachi Content Platform. And then we had our software-defined storage, which is virtual storage software. What we wanted to do is take the DNA of SVOS, which is the storage virtualization operating system that runs on the VSP, and we wanted to apply the tenets of that reliability, performance, manageability across the entire Hitachi storage portfolio. So that's what you're going to see from us within this VSP One is having the right data in the right place, regardless of its location or access protocol. So you're going to see things like SVOS cut across this entire portfolio of products. And your user experience is going to be much better. You see that in the middle. ClearSight is going to be fleet management in the cloud, but think of that as advanced call home, where it'll do more than just let you know that something is failing. It's going to be able to do performance training, sustainability metrics, and reporting, because that's something we're seeing more and more interest and measurement of, is how energy efficient is my data plant. Op Center is the management plane. And as you see on this, we've split this ecosystem into kind of two planes. A data plane, which is where you think about where the data is stored, the hardware, the software, where those actual bits and bytes are kept, but also the control plane, which is the management of that entire data infrastructure, regardless of its location. Remember, I said whether it's block, file, object, or mainframe, it's going to be managed the same way throughout the data lifecycle. And that's where EverFlex Control comes into play, because it rides on top of this to provide you that single pane of glass. And one of the nice things about EverFlex Control, and I believe it's the next slide, goes into EverFlex Control is it's on top of your entire environment. It's not just your storage technology, which is historically where we've kind of played. We wanted to expand to give our customers a single point of management, regardless of what they're managing in their environment. EverFlex Control is going to give you that. And if you look up there at the top, 2,500 plus integrations with various ISV partners, technology agnostic. If you're already using Ansible automation in your environment, that's fine. We can work with that, Puppet, Chef, what have you. And the heterogeneous infrastructure is not just Hitachi products. And now I have to go log into something else to manage my Dell or Nutanix hypervisors. All that is taken care of through EverFlex Control. And it is that single self-service portal. It really brings that cloud experience to your hybrid cloud environment, because that's where all our customers are going to eventually land, is a hybrid cloud. They're going to have some on-prem, they're going to have some off-prem in the cloud or in a colo. This is going to provide you that management, that observability for that, persona-based views, cloud financial ops reporting, things of that nature, to understand what data is in your environment.
Yeah, so Gary,
Alert man, yeah, go ahead.
How significant of a shift do you see this strategy as being for a company like Hitachi that, traditionally has been just a block storage company?
Yeah, I think it's us looking towards, and Hitachi will never be first to market with anything. It's just not kind of being an engineering company. When they come out with something, it's going to be rock solid. So you're never going to see us be on the bleeding edge of anything. But we've identified, there's an opportunity here to help our customers move to the hybrid cloud, because especially in the federal government space, there's a lot of cloud pressure in that. And this is the best way to allow our customers to facilitate that migration and not lock them into a proprietary solution, because it is very open frameworks, open REST APIs, et cetera. It's going to allow you to have that and choose the best solutions for your environment.
I do think that even though Hitachi is often not first to market as an engineering company, EverFlex Control really does give us, I'd say, a leg up in terms of being able to provide that self-service portal, right? Because when we talk about hybrid cloud, or even cloud in general, right? So much of the federal government has been focused on, cloud first and seeing cloud as, well, it's a destination, right? I want to be in AWS, or I want to be in Azure. And it's really more, about a mindset, a way of doing business, right? So you've got the EverFlex financial model, which gives you the consumability of solutions in the same way that the cloud works. But another key portion of the cloud is being able to do things from a self-service perspective. So to me, this is kind of a really unique feature or differentiator for Hitachi, because we're looking at integrations that create that self-service configurable dashboard, service catalog, persona-based views that are not just for Hitachi solutions, right? We've got every single major storage vendor, kind of listed out there in terms of heterogeneous infrastructure. And I know that that's just a subset, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think even though oftentimes we may not be the first to release X product, I do think this is really something that differentiates us in the market.
Yeah, and I think it eases our customers' transition to a hybrid cloud environment, because now I can use the same sort of flavor of tool set and data management approaches that I would on-prem and apply it to a hybrid cloud management, understanding what people are, the challenges that they're having, because too often they're doing this. They're on this keyboard for their on-prem, then they're on this keyboard for their cloud management. So, and never the twain should meet. This allows us to give them a unique product that can help them manage that throughout the entire experience.
No, this is good. Now, for the federal government, though, of course, it's a loaded question sometimes. Do I have to connect to some Hitachi portal in order to access EverFlex Control? Like, what if?
No. Most of our commercial customers on the Hitachi Vantara side do use cloud-based tools to manage this. but you can absolutely do this. But this can also be all deployed on-prem and managed with on-premise equipment and manage the cloud infrastructure as well. But yeah, it can be all done on-prem as part of this.
Awesome.
Yeah. So if we go on to after EverFlex control, like I said, it really feeds into that. So where are we in kind of the portfolio development? And so we announced VSP One in April. And when we announced that, we actually announced the VSP One, the concept, late last year. But in April, we came out with VSP One File, which is the next generation of our NAS product. VSP One Cloud, which is our SVOS in the cloud running on AWS Marketplace, and Azure and Google are soon to be coming. And then SDS Block, which is the on-prem version of what's running in the cloud. In June, we announced Block 20 that I think, James, you're going to talk more about.
Yeah.
But at the end of the year, in October, we're going to be announcing VSP One as software-defined file, which is going to allow us to have a software-defined file services in the cloud or on-prem, and VSP One Object, which is the next generation of the object platform to support the VSP One framework. And then you'll see there in 25, 26, the addition of mainframe. And what you'll see is a lot of these align with refreshing of the portfolio. So one of the things I want to point out is, if you're an existing Hitachi customer, most of those products that you're managing can be managed by the VSP One framework. So you're going to have the VSP One management stack can work on your existing E790, your existing 5600. So understand that, you know, we're not just throwing the baby out with the bathwater. We're allowing our customers to transition into this portfolio.
Well, I think one thing that I think is pretty interesting about the VSP One portfolio is kind of when you talked about, you know, in order to simplify, a mission has to be flexible, right? Hitachi is focused on solutions, whether they're, you know, physical appliances, software defined, or in the cloud, across the entire data stack, right? So we're not just talking about individual products anymore, but really a holistic portfolio with IP that's been developed by Vantara.
Right.
And it's interesting because a lot of folks that are familiar with Hitachi know that there are other companies that OEM some of our products, but VSP One is not something that's OEM by another product, right? The ability to tie all of these pieces together and have a single data plane and single control plane is something that is uniquely Hitachi.
Regardless of protocol, yeah.
Exactly.
No longer are you worrying about, well, where's this in my infrastructure? You know, I'm managing that data from a single location through its life cycle.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So so some of the things that I think also set us apart is those on top are things. So in the middle there, the 100% data availability guarantee, you know, that's something we've offered for over 20 years. We're going to extend that to the rest of the VSP One portfolio. So in that, modern storage assurance, being able to migrate to the next generation of storage technology without kind of refreshing your entire environment, that's something that is brand new in the last generation, a couple of generations, where we can update the controllers, basically the processing power of the storage devices, and not have to do a data migration. You know, so that lowers your total cost of ownership over, you know, 5 to 10 years, because now these boxes are going to turn into 10 to 12-year duty cycle boxes. The effective capacity guarantee as well is where all the market is really going, offering dedupe and compression technologies. But one of the things that's real exciting around this is we've offered this for many years, but now we're going to 4-to-1, no questions asked. And what that means is we will guarantee 4-to-1 on these new platforms, regardless of the data type. You don't have to sign any document, no warranty instrument like we had before. Literally, you pull up the VSP One administrator, the reporting engine, show us that you're not running at 4-to-1 and you're going to get the additional capacity to make sure you're at 4-to-1. We're that confident. And being an engineering company, we're very risk adverse. Anyone that's worked with us knows that. And this is the first solution that we're offering that level of capacity guarantee. So that tells you how good the technology is around compression and deduplication across that portfolio. And the newest addition down there is that Safe Snap guarantee, which is focused on our cyber resiliency and ransomware protection. You know, data immutable. If you follow best practices around the Safe Snap that's in Thin Image Advanced now, you know, we're going to guarantee that that data is recoverable and immutable for you if you're in a cyber, you know, a cybersecurity environment from that perspective. So. And then, you know, really what VSP One is helping our customers do is achieve that total data freedom. Stop worrying about, well, you know, this is on my block array. How am I managing this? What protocol is this data set going to use? Where does this fit in my data pipeline? You know, putting that consistent operating approach across our entire data infrastructure is going to allow you that single point of management, single point of data control, and address a lot of those issues that were in that last poll, things, data security, governance concerns, you know, infrastructure being able to keep up, data portability to the cloud. You know, having that one platform is going to simplify your life so much. And Hitachi, I really think, is the leader across all those types of protocols in that environment. So.
Yeah, no, thanks, Gary. And so I wanted to take a moment to kind of talk about some of the newest release when it comes to the VSP One portfolio. And you can see I kind of highlight where it exists in the data plane, right? So think of this as an addition in the block space and a new appliance, right? So VSP One Block 20, this is a new 2U solution available from Hitachi. We offer the cybersecurity resilience guarantee with that through Thin Image Advanced and Safe Snap immutability. We continue to offer these solutions with 100% data availability guarantees. And I'll go into some of the other technologies that are involved in it. But this is a solution in 2U where we can offer 1.8 petabytes effective in just a 2U platform, right? And then with Hitachi Virtual Storage Scale Out, we can expand that into a 65 node cluster, right? So that's, I think, pretty interesting because most of the players in the scale out space talk about building, you know, a 12 or 24 node cluster. And that's why when I talk to folks about Hitachi solutions, you know, identify both their resiliency in terms of our guarantees, but also their scalability. So this is really a way that you can get involved in either refreshing your existing environment or joining into the VSP One design with a highly scalable but small entry point solution. So what are some of the major changes that exist inside of our VSP One and Block 20 platform? Well, one of the first, and I'll get into some of these details, are we've moved away from a traditional RAID technology, and now we're looking at dynamic drive protection. So this gives us a distributed spare and drive rebuild. We'll be doing single drive additions with our technology, so no longer a situation where, you know, I need 8 more drives, so I have to kind of plan my scalability based upon, well, I love the fact that flash is dense, but I don't need to buy 1/4 of a petabyte every time I have to expand. We've enhanced our compression accelerator, and that's one of the pieces that's going to allow us to offer that no questions asked data reduction ratio. And again, if you're looking at it in the concept of the federal marketplace, remember, this is something that isn't going to require a signature. We do not need to look or ask about the data. And we do not need to see the data or, you know, query the data itself or the data stack when we're offering you that guarantee. And I think that's something that is definitely different from other players in the market. You know, a lot of the industry today is offering effective capacity guarantees, but they have caveats. With our no questions asked data reduction ratio, there are no caveats. Thin image advance gives us the safe snap guarantees, as well as dramatic performance improvements when it comes to using these data savings technologies with snapshotting. Probably some of the biggest announcements with regards to Hitachi is our expansions in the connectivity space. So Block 20 is offering 100 gig NVMe TCP capability, right? That's something that Hitachi hasn't looked at in the past, and that we see as a trend in the market, and something where we can really enhance the capabilities of all NVMe drives. 25 gig iSCSI, but on the fiber channel side, also a release of 64 gig fiber channel solutions, again, to support those high performance NVMe. And that's why we've moved to an entire Gen 4 PCIe NVMe based solution. Security and management, right? Those are kind of key as identified as what are some of the challenges an agency faces in building a data foundation. Our solution has native KMIP support. It has ClearSight with the ability to do dynamic reporting, and that is a read-only connection. Many agencies in the DoD space won't necessarily be using that, but we can offer the same ClearSight experience with Hitachi Ops Center. And this is one that I really want to highlight, is this second bullet point here, and that's a hardware root of trust, right? So now with all Hitachi VSP One block solutions, there is a hardware root of trust, a certificate that identifies both the board that the operating system is running on, as well as a hardware root on secure firmware boot, right? So when you look at the challenges of security or concerns about security, you know, checking the boxes and enhancing your posture when it comes to zero trust, having a secure boot situation where you look at the hashes of your operating system to validate that you are not in a corrupted or altered scenario when it comes to the code that's being run on your systems, and a hardware root of trust to guarantee that the system involved in the conversation is a certified Hitachi product, right? We're not necessarily emphasizing a lot of that in our market, but I think it's critical in the federal space, right?
Yeah, and I think that's one of the huge areas that with the VSP One that Hitachi is focused on is in that cybersecurity realm, and it's things like hardware root of trust, them and image advance. Our cyber positioning and how we can fit into your cyber strategy is stronger than it's ever been, and it's only going to continue to get better.
Exactly. Yeah. And then from a sustainability perspective, and I'll go into some of these features, we're introducing dynamic carbon reduction. We have platinum-based power supplies, but also, and I say this both for our end users as well as our partners, all of our solutions are Energy Star certified in VSP One, and they have a carbon footprint of products certification. So when you're looking at sustainable solutions, any website of a vendor you go to today is going to talk about its sustainability posture. And I would ask those individuals, where are you at in terms of government certifications? And where are you at in terms of reporting on the carbon footprint of your products? And if they're not doing that, they're not offering you sustainable solutions. And remember that sustainability isn't just something that we care about for our kids or that our kids care about, but it also has a direct impact on the total cost of ownership of our solutions, right? So whether it's to save the planet or save your budget, sustainability is something that agencies want to focus on. So let me do a little bit of a deeper understanding of some of these technologies. And the first is that dynamic drive protection. So we have gone from the traditional RAID structure where you bought drives in a 4 or 8 or 16 pack of drives to a solution where we now deal with more of a virtualized RAID technology, right? So on this side of the slide, you see kind of traditional RAID solutions with growing by parity group, dedicated spare drives. When the drive fails, needing to rebuild and relying upon that dedicated spare. With dynamic drive protection, we've moved to a distributed spare. So that means that we're using all of the drives in the system. There isn't anything idle. That means that we have a distributed rebuild solution, which means that it is faster to replace a failed drive in the event of an issue. And that's important because right now, flash drives are the densest drives on the market, right? 30 terabytes are the norm today. We'll see 60 terabyte drives here towards the end of the year or early next year. And that means that being able to rebuild from a failed drive is critical. And especially as we get into denser and more cost-effective technologies. So all of these solutions are actually being shipped what we call QLC ready, which is a new version or another version of flash that exists in the market that's further lowering the cost of NVMe. Hitachi is shipping these as QLC ready because since we rely upon resiliency, we won't put QLC drives into our systems until there are dual ported drives that hit our resiliency requirements, but we're shipping them ready. And QLC is another one where people have concerns about drive wear and how long will drives last until they die. And so having both a distributed spare as well as a faster rebuild capability is critical when looking at these technologies. But more importantly, incremental drive scaling, right? So when we built solutions for government RFPs, we often always go to or try to go to the densest drives, right? I have a DoD customer that we replaced a quarter of the data center floor with 2 racks by moving to denser drives. But so often customers don't want 30 or soon to be 60 terabyte drives because they don't know how much they're going to grow. And in a traditional RAID technology, that meant that you needed 100 terabytes more, or a quarter of a petabyte more, or sometimes a half a petabyte more. With dynamic drive protection, Hitachi has moved to a model where we can scale 1 drive a piece. And that means all the Hitachi resilience, all the Hitachi performance and scalability with a very acceptable and modest increase in cost when you need to grow your capacity, because we're only talking about the cost of a single physical drive.
That's huge, and the rebuild is just massive, because especially with 30 terabyte parity groups, I mean, you're looking at days in some cases to that
Right.
Some vendors are taking to rebuild typical RAID groups.
Yeah. So another technology feature that we've done is the release of our compression accelerator module. This is a 2nd generation hardware offload for compression. It moves from an 8-bit traditional compression model to a 32 or 8K traditional model to a 32K variable model. And what we're seeing is a significant improvement in overall performance. We actually have machine learning built into the system, where depending upon the data workload, we can dynamically switch from inline compression for large I/O in a 32K block to inline compression even on traditional 8K for small I/Os, but we'll still do a post-process compression to ramp it up to 32. And what that is doing, what that means in terms of our customers in the federal government, is it means greater data savings reductions based upon compression and our deduplication. So it's down here on the lower left-hand side, but it gives you an idea of what we are looking at in terms of the compression enhancements, right? So our E-series and even the smaller end version of Block 20, the Block 24, they do software-based compression. So it's built into the operating system. And we can achieve the same amount of data reduction with only compression in the new Block 26 and Block 28s. And that's why Hitachi is able to guarantee 4-to-1, no questions asked. Lastly, I want to highlight the 2 technologies that we're doing in terms of sustainability, and that's our dynamic carbon reduction. These involve an active power control, where the system will identify both by the IOPS that are flowing through it, as well as the busyness of the processors on the array. it will actually dynamically switch the processors on the controllers to a lower power mode based upon that workload, right? So that not only is a great story in terms of sustainability, but it also is something that lowers the total cost of ownership of the solution. We've also put in adaptive fan control with multiple additions to the fan speeds. That means that we can lower the power consumption when there is a significantly cool period. But also, since we deal in the DoD space, we have a number of customers that perhaps are looking at data centers or environments or theaters where power or temperature, rather, is difficult to control. So we've added an adaptive CPU temperature control that if the data center or the environment is exceeding the internal temperature statistics or requirements, specifications of the processors, we will actually reduce the clock speed on the array to keep the system from overheating, right? So this is a feature that we have put into our arrays in order to further enhance their resiliency, right? So we lower the heat that's generated to preserve the system and the data, because that is our number one need when it comes to designing our solutions at Hitachi. Overall, our systems have a real leadership when it comes to sustainability. Again, when it comes to Energy Star certification, Hitachi is ranked number one by the Energy Star standards for IOPS per watt. We have a carbon footprint of products, and we friendly shore manufacture our components, which actually means they have 38% less CO2 impact compared to any other vendor, based upon we manufacturing them in Japan and then assembling them here in Norman, Oklahoma. We have patented our automated compression switching technology to switch between inline and post-processing. That lowers the power consumption. We have patented the dynamic carbon reduction in terms of switching the power modes on our arrays. And we have actually also patented the technology of our modern storage assurance that enables us to do controller upgrades and extend overall media life. So I've given you a lot of data with regards to the new addition to the data plane of VSP One with the Block 20 appliances. But keep in mind that these systems can exist anywhere. So today we have released the VSP One software-defined storage for cloud. It currently exists on the AWS marketplace and is soon to come to Azure and Google. It has a single common control plane with all of these appliance-based solutions through our Ops Center data management, as well as integration with common APIs for cloud consumption, such as Terraform and Ansible. And if you add on a solution like Everflex Control, it enables us to manage the entire environment, both on-premise and in the cloud. And it shares a common data plane of SVOS with our on-premise solutions. And that means that you can have the same data services that exist in a private cloud or on-premise environment in the public cloud as well. And we support asynchronous replication from an on-premise solution into the public cloud. And that really extends the ability of agencies to consume the public cloud when it comes to determining their DR or cyber resiliency style solutions. So I do want to encourage all of us to take action. So some of the key takeaways that we've talked about today are the surge in data itself has become the new norm. Hitachi's vision for Virtual Storage Platform One is designed to empower agencies to access the right data at the right time, consumed through any application. And that is what Hitachi means when it comes to achieving total data freedom. And third, our latest solutions provide a modern, secure, and cost-effective capability to build a solid data foundation for mature data models in the federal government. With that, Gary, I'll turn it over and so we have opened up the Q&A in our chat. Looks like the first question we have, we may have actually talked about through this.
I was going to say this
Yeah.
one came in earlier in the webinar, but yeah, the total data freedom, and you talked about this is regardless of data type or protocol, data in the right place at the right time and accessible to the right people. This is part of that governance and data security as well. It's freeing you up from thinking about data in the larger context of data management, as opposed to, well, this is my block management, this is my file environment, this is my object environment, this is on-prem cloud. It really does free our customers up to be data managers and not array managers.
Yep. No, that's awesome. Do we have any other questions? Yep. So Gary, how does Hitachi's approach to hybrid cloud solutions benefit federal agencies?
Yeah, I think this is where, again, you look at what's coming in the portfolio with the software-defined storage, living in the cloud, the file environment, object living in the cloud. That's going to allow our customers to move to the hybrid cloud without changing a lot of their operating model at the end of the day, because it's just an extension of the solutions that they've used for years, just having that additional management feature and functionality to seamlessly allow them to transition to a hybrid cloud environment. And it's not this binary switch that a lot of people originally viewed cloud in. It was either I'm on-prem or I'm in cloud. That's not the case. And we're helping our customers move towards this hybrid environment where it's not a binary decision they have to make.
Yeah, no, that's outstanding. It looks like that's all we've got for questions and answers. So I'd like to encourage all of you, follow us on social media, our LinkedIn, YouTube channel, as well as X account. Thank you for joining our Talk Data to Me webinar. In September, we will be addressing the topic of enhancing federal data security from data protection to cyber resilience. That's actually going to be a joint presentation that Hitachi does with our OEM partner Commvault. And keep in mind, so details and registration to that will follow. Look to that to come out both through Hitachi and Carahsoft. And then today we'll also be doing a t-shirt raffle. So 10 attendees of the webinar will receive a Talk Data to Me t-shirt. It'll take place from the attendee list. You'll be notified within 24 hours, and we'll collect the information from you on the winners' addresses and the size so we can ship out those t-shirts. So again, thank you, Gary, for joining us on today's webinar. Thank you, Carahsoft, for hosting today's webinar. Very helpful, a great partnership. And thank you to all of you who've joined us today for Talk Data to Me. Thanks very much.
Thank you.